Coach, you were down for 4 minutes last weekend, and you exploded for 48 unanswered points to seize control of the game. Just talk about your team's play last weekend.
Well, I think the guys are starting to understand what we talk to them every day about, which is, one, overcoming adversity, and two, preparing yourself every day to be prepared for competition. And it started, with a great week of preparation, starting this past Sunday, of how the guys came with a mindset to work after the win against Savannah, knowing that we had a tough trip ahead of us. And, we took a long bus ride up to Durham and got there and tried to get rested. And I thought the guys did a really good job of responding to early adversity. Since we took the ball and drove it right down the field, opening kickoff, we kicked the ball out of bounds, and they took it down and scored. And the guys didn't panic. They didn't quit. They came right back, got a big kick return by Marcus Williams, and was able to score 2 plays later. And from that, the guys really did a great job in all 3 phases, offensively, defensively, and in the kicking game, of just playing sound football. And didn't turn the ball over. Penalties, we still had a few, but wasn't as many as past games. And we really just put ourselves in a really good position. So, again, I tip my hat to the guys and coaching staff, the preparation that they did all week, and was able to come out of there with another conference win, which is huge for us. And hopefully we can continue that this week as we prepare to face a Norfolk State football team that's playing as good as anybody in black college football right now.
And speaking of Norfolk State, you mentioned they're playing good now, but then also you have to deal with a quality team and the homecoming buzz. So just talk about the balancing act you will have to go through this week as you prepare for a football game along with the off-the-field activities.
Well, the funny thing is that, of course, I played my college ball at Clemson, and then, was able to begin my coaching career at PWI, Clemson and Middle Tennessee State. And it wasn't really until I got into HBCU football that we started hearing about homecoming as if it's a hindrance for the home team, with the distractions and all the events and everything that's going on. So basically what we try to do is just let our guys understand that, hey, homecoming is for the fans, it's for the alumni, it's for everyone else. The culmination of homecoming is the football game on Saturday, and that's the reason everyone's coming. So for us, it's about making sure that we're preparing ourselves to take care of business on Saturday, and to if we want to do that, that means we have to sacrifice. We have to sacrifice the parties, we have to sacrifice the late night hangouts, everything that makes homecoming on HBCU campuses the best homecomings in the world. We have to sacrifice those things as football players, and hopefully that message resonates with our football team, and that comes Saturday at 4 o'clock, that we've done everything on and off the field to give ourselves the best chance to be successful.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Via the phone lines, you can press the 1-4 on your telephone keypad. Our first question comes from Melvin Beal, Inside Sports. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Melvin.
Hey, you guys actually played well in all 3 phases of the game, special teams, defense, and offense. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, again, it's something that we talk about all the time. And the big emphasis that we've placed since we got here is to be dominant on special teams. I kind of challenged the team way back in the spring. I want FAMU to be looked at the way we looked at Virginia Tech, back when I was playing college football. The way that teams looked at Miami and Florida State, that they know that every time they line up the punt, there's a chance that we may block it. They know that every time they kick off to us, there's a chance that we may have a big return. Or they know that every time we line up the punt, that we're going to flip the field. And I think the guys are starting to buy into that. I'm not sure the exact stat, but I think we blocked 5 punts this year. I don't know what that ranks nationally. We blocked the field goal. We're leading the nation in punting right now. Chris Fadul is leading the entire country in punting average. And so the guys are really doing a great job of buying into what it takes to be a dominant special teams unit. Offensively and defensively, again, it's just about fundamental football and doing the little things right. Defensively, they've been doing that pretty much the entire season. Offensively, I think the last 6 quarters, we've really hit our stride as far as execution. Still got some cleaning up to do. Still got to get better on 3rd downs. Still got to convert touchdowns in the red zone as opposed to field goals. But I think the guys are really starting to understand exactly what we look for in all 3 phases.
Your assessment of Norfolk Norfolk State. They have an exciting quarterback, Juwan Carter.
Well, it all starts with him. Anytime you have a dynamic quarterback, that sets up a dangerous football team. And so they're playing with a lot of confidence right now. He's playing extremely well. He's throwing the ball around. He's got high school teammates that he's throwing to that obviously he's built a great rapport with. Since his days as a prep star. So again, he wants to find those guys and he wants to let them be playmakers for him. And I have a ton of respect for Latrell Scott. In his football mind, and I know he's going to put a game plan together to give his guys a chance to come in and try to take advantage of some of the things that we do. And so we have to try our best to keep them bottled up. I don't know if you can stop a player of Juwan Carter's caliber. You just got to try to contain them, keep them bottled up. And but for us, it starts with the same formula, and that's making them one-dimensional. If we can make them one-dimensional, I think that gives us a good chance defensively to impose our will. And for us offensively, we got to find a way to run the football and continue to play solid in special teams.
Talk a little bit about the offensive line. There seemed to be improved play there. How did they grade out this week?
Well, again, I thought that they did a much better job this week of front recognition, of communicating calls, getting them in quickly, and when they do that, they play a lot better. We asked a lot of our offensive linemen. They have a lot of checks they have to make at the line of scrimmage. A lot of our protection, they have the ability to flip protection from one side to the other. And it's all based on how the defense aligns. And so it's just recognition from those guys. And the more and more they play, the more repetitions they get, the better they'll become. I mean, they're an athletic group, they're a talented group, they have a lot of pride. But again, with everything we asked of them up front, it obviously took a few weeks before it started to gel. So I think it's starting to come together now, and we'll need to do so because, again, we're facing a team that's got a lot of dangerous players on the defense, one of the best pass rushers that we'll see all season, and a team that's leading the conference total defense right now.
Thanks, Coach, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Lut Williams of Black College Sports Page. Please go ahead.
Yeah, that's Lute, L-U-T, but it's pronounced L-O-O-T. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good morning.
Coach, what did you see with Central that had you come out throwing as much as you did?
Well, we just felt like we had some matchups on the outside. We have some receivers that can run, and we felt like with some of the coverages that they play, that they put a lot of stress on their defensive backs to play coverage with not much help over the top. And so we hit an early post ball. Obviously, they changed some things up and went to a little bit more man coverage. And then that gave some one-on-ones to Chad Hunter, which Chad, I think, is one of the best receivers in this conference, and when he's healthy, one of the best in FCS football. And so he had a huge first half. 7 catches for 135 yards, 3 touchdowns, all in the first half. And so we had some opportunities there early, but again, I think a lot of that is what we were able to do with special teams. We played on the short field pretty much the entire first half. We blocked a punt for a touchdown, returned the big kickoff across the field, and it makes it a lot easier as a play caller to take a shot on maybe first or second down when you're snapping the ball for the plus 45 as opposed to the minus 15. And so, again, I think the success that we've had on offense and defense is directly attributed to the success that we had on special teams.
Talk a little bit about the running game. Did Bonnet get hurt? Because I know he made a long run. Didn't look like he got back in the game. What's his status?
Yeah, he was battling some stomach issues. He plays extremely hard. He plays on all special teams. So we didn't know if he overexerted himself or whatever. But he blocked the punt for a touchdown. He came back and had a 68-yard run, and then from that he just kind of started getting a little bit under the weather. So we played Deshaun Smith, and again he's a more than capable back as he's shown. 20 carries for 152 yards. He's more than capable of toting the mail. He's a former Mr. Football, in the state of Florida. So that it shows you what type of player, talent-wise, that he has. So, again, we're fortunate to have a stable of running backs right now between Ricky Henrillis, Devin Bowers, Bishop Bonner, and Deshaun Smith. That if either one of those guys goes down, the other one can step up and still give us some production.
And finally, Coach, I'm sure you had to notice that your former team, Prairie View, knocked off Grambling. I know that was a difficult thing when you were there at Prairie View. How were you surprised at that result, or you're not surprised in terms of what you left there in the cupboard at Prairie View?
Well, I'm not surprised. Again, SWAC's a very competitive league, just as the Meac is. And on any given week, as Morgan State showed early in the season against A&T, you can be beat, if you don't come to play. And of course, Erik Dooley's done a phenomenal job there at Prairie View. They could very easily be 5-1 right now as opposed to 3-3. And it's always a kind of a special thing. I remember my first year at Prairie View. We went to play Alcorn State, and of course I had just left Alcorn as the coordinator, now I'm the head coach at Prairie View. And it's just a little bit different when you go back to the place that you've been for 3 years. You feel like you know those guys, you feel like you know their tendencies, and I think it kind of gives that coach a little bit of an advantage. And so I wasn't surprised. Again, I have a ton of respect for Roger Fobbs and the job he's done. I also have a ton of respect for Erik Dooley and the job that he's doing now. So I knew it was going to be a close football game, and it could have gone either way. And but again, just happy for those guys, and they're finally able to get that monkey off their back, and they're playing really good football right now.
Now, this game against Norfolk State is pretty much, I wouldn't say it's an elimination game, but both of you all are poised to be challengers to A&T, and obviously you just beat Central, who's been one of the top teams in this conference. Just handicap your team and your team's mentality going in.
Well, again, we both control our own destiny. Simple as that. And you got two teams coming in undefeated. Saturday about 7:30, one will be still undefeated, the other one won't. One will control their own destiny. The other one will have to kind of look around every Saturday on the score sheet to see if somebody's giving them help. And so, fortunately for both teams, we're in that situation, and I think our team embraces that. They hadn't been in this position in a long time. So we just understand that we have to continue to do the little things right to give ourselves the best chance to be successful so that we can continue to control our own destiny. But that's playing good football. That's not turning the ball over. Again, that's getting off the field on third downs on defense. That's converting third downs on offense. And then that's continuing to play solid in the special teams. So we do that. We like our chances here at homecoming. But it's going to be a great challenge. It's going to be probably one of the biggest games in FCS football this weekend.
Good luck Saturday, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach, thanks again for speaking with us, and we look forward to talking with you again next week.
All right, thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Florida A&M will return home to face the Spartans of Norfolk State this Saturday at 4 p.m. The contest will be streamed live on ESPN3. We're now joined by Bethune-Cookman University head coach Terry Simmons. The Wildcats defeated Savannah State this past Saturday, and will also have homecoming festivities as they will host Mississippi Valley State this weekend. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good morning, Ryan. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, Coach. Overcame some early bumps before taking full control.
Well, I think, first and foremost, Coach Raeburn and his staff, they put a good football team on the field on Saturday. But we watched our football team grow up on Saturday. And we watched those guys start to do a lot of the things that we've been trying to get them to do all season. So, I was pleased with the effort, in all three phases. We obviously got a long way to go, and we have a lot more to do, a lot of things still to clean up. But, I think with the start that we had on Saturday, the future looks bright for this program and for a lot of guys in it. We had a lot of guys step up and make plays on Saturday that we've been waiting on for, a couple of weeks. So just looking forward to what's to come.
And speaking of Saturday's game, one thing that stood out is you had 259 yards on the ground, and you just kept pounding and having success. Just talk about establishing a run game, and how does that help the passing game overall?
Say it one more time, Ryan.
Talk about your running. Talk about your run game. And you had 259 yards of rushing. Just talk about how they established the line of scrimmage, and how does that help your passing game down the line?
Well, I think when you look at it, our offensive line, they came out and they were aggressive on Saturday, and they moved the line of scrimmage. They created a new line of scrimmage. And anytime you can control the line of scrimmage, you have an opportunity to do some good things. And we had three backs that carried the ball on Saturday. Pough, Isaac Washington, and Ladarian Wilson. And Ladarian was one of those guys that I spoke about earlier, saying that we thought he would come on earlier in the season, but now he's gotten himself in shape and he's up to speed with the offense. He did a lot of good things for us on Saturday, and it allowed us to play all those guys with the game situation, along with Akivas and David. Both of those guys carried the ball a little bit also, and Savannah started putting more guys in the box, and it allowed us to get our passing game going. And that was something that I was very proud of both quarterbacks that went in and played early. They sat in the pocket and delivered the ball to the open receivers. They just took what the defense gave them, which was something that we've been trying to get those guys to do all season, and Saturday it came true.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone keypad to register a question or comment. That is the 1-4.
Coach, talk about playing Mississippi Valley this week, as I know you're familiar with them from your days in the SWAC, and what do they pose as they have a new head coach?
Well, I think the first thing that you see when you turn the film on is an area that I always look at first is their special teams. And that's the part of the game that a lot of people don't focus on a lot, but they're well coached in their special teams, and they have two dangerous returners, and they have guys that carry out their assignments. So that's one thing that I know their coaching staff they're working on hard, because it shows on film. They have a lot of active guys on defense that like to fly around, and you can tell that it's a new energy in that program. Not looking at the scores and who they played, that's not important. We have to look at ourselves and make sure that we're executing every day, because they have two quarterbacks that can definitely deliver the ball, and they have one quarterback, the second guy they bring in, he's very dangerous, with his legs. So we have to just make sure that we're gap sound on our defense, and make sure that we're staying in coverage and able to handle the scramble drill, because if either quarterback gets any pressure on them, they're going to flush the pocket, but they throw the ball very well on the run. So not the Valley of old. You look at the scores and say it's still Valley, but they're not the Mississippi Valley of old. These guys are running around. They have a lot of energy, and they're making plays. They just have not had a lot of breaks in these first couple of games, but we definitely have to bring our A game and focus on us to continue to get better on Saturday.
And before we close out, it's homecoming for you also. So just talk about, basically, you've been in Bethune for some time now. How do you balance, the on the field and off the field items regarding homecoming?
Well, it's very simple. And, we started talking to our guys on Sunday about it. And the first thing I tell them, homecoming is not for them. We're part of the entertainment. And we're not going to go out and try to be involved in all the festivities. You have to stay focused at a time like this, because homecoming at HBCUs is different. And, we already have people that are, flying around campus and trying to, I guess, get back to their roots and old players and folks that went to school here back in the day. But we're glad to see all those people back, but we're not going to be involved in all the festivities. We'll get ourselves prepared to play a good football game on Saturday against a very, very capable opponent. And, if everything turns out the way that we want it to turn out, then we can celebrate on Saturday night.
Coach, thanks again for joining us, and we'll definitely talk with you next week as you return back to conference play.
All right, thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome. Bethune-Cookman is home for homecoming this Saturday as they will face the Devils of Mississippi Valley State. Kickoff is set for 4 p.m. as the contest will be shown live on ESPN3. We will now travel north to Dover, Delaware for our third call this morning as we welcome in Rod Milstead of Delaware State. The Hornets fell to Norfolk State this past weekend and will host North Carolina A&T State in their home opener Saturday night at 7 p.m. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good morning, Ryan.
Coach, once you dig into the stats, the score does not reflect what actually took place last week. Just talk about the first half specifically last weekend as you're inside Norfolk State's 30-yard line 4 times in the first half, but either turning over on downs or just turnovers overall.
Yeah, Ryan, we are steadily trying to get better. Costly mistakes like turnovers and interceptions have been pegging our football program since day one. We definitely have to get better in that area, and that's going to come with maturity. Our team is still very, very young. Coaching staff is really new, and so getting all the pieces to gel together and work together as one entity has been trying, and it's been the evidence has been, in the win and loss column. So we got a lot of work to do, but we're going to keep pressing forward, and like I said, we're going to try to get better every single day, and our day will come.
And speaking of pressing forward, now that you had some continued success on offense, especially in regards to moving the ball, how does the team grow from that, and have you been able to notice their confidence level grow also as a result of that?
Well, it's funny you say that, Ryan. Last evening we practiced, and I mentioned to one of the coaches, I said, it's funny. We don't practice like an 0-4 football team. And the kids are still practicing at a high level. They are running around, they're competing, they're challenging each other. It's just the small little nuances that we have to mature into and do a better job of staying focused and finishing the opportunity. Defensively, we've been struggling. We've given up, close to a little over 200 points in 4 games, and most teams don't do that in a season, and we've accomplished that feat in 4 games. So not something we're proud of, but we definitely have to do a better job defensively. Offense is moving along, but it's still nowhere near where I would like it to be. And in our special teams, we gave up some big return yardage on special teams, although we scored 2 kickoff returns, which is a positive in our favor. So we got a lot of good things on our foundation that we're building, but we have a long ways to go.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You can press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone keypad to register a question or comment. That is the 1 followed by the 4. We have no questions.
Coach, you're at home this weekend for the first time, and it's also a big race weekend in Dover, so a lot of things will be going on around the game. Just talk about playing at home for the first time this season against A&T.
Well, Ron, I am super excited. Our kids are excited. We've been on the road for 4 weeks, and 4 long weeks. It's going to be good to play in our home stadium with our home crowd, and I know a lot of folks are going to be in town to see it. A&T is the Meac champions from last season. The number 1 team in black college football. So it's a tough task to play at home, and I know they travel with the crowd, and I know we'll have it'll be a sellout. It'll be a sellout. Everyone wants to see the 2018 Delaware State Hornets. Our fans do, and we're excited to, like I said, to play at home, and we want to put on a good show. So we're going to continue to practice hard and do everything we can to finally get in that win column.
speaking of A&T, what stands out when you look at them on film?
Everything. I mean, I hate to laugh about it, but they're a very well coached, well put together, well mature football program. That's been evident throughout the past few years. They've always had a say in who's going to win the Meac title. So, defensively, their front four is very good. Their linebackers are super fast. They're all over the field. Their defensive backs are just relentless to the ball. So we have our work cut out for us offensively, trying to manage them and open up our running game that will establish our passing game as well. Offensively, their quarterback is probably one of the best in the FCS. He does a very good job with his arm. He's smart. When you take away the pass, he beats you with his feet. They do their front five are big guys. They move people. They're big maulers. They're my type of offensive lineman. And their receiving core is probably one of the better ones that I've seen on film this year. They get everyone involved. Everyone has had numerous catches, and they spread the ball around equally to all. They're very, very fast in their running game. So we're going to have to play a very, very hard-nosed football team and be perfect in everything that we do, because if we don't, then they're going to capitalize on our mistakes.
And before we close out, just talk about Trey Gross, 9 receptions, 162 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Just talk about his performance last week.
Well, that's the Trey Gross that I met and I saw play last season, the things that he was doing. And he was doing that in the spring to our players here in the spring football practices and games. And I was waiting for him to break out. Trey was in a slump, and he finally broke out of it. And his confidence level is now through the roof. Just watched him practice yesterday. He is definitely one of our better receivers, our go-to guy, and we're looking forward to watching him grow and watching him continue on have the success that he's having. I challenged him last week to be great in the game, and he definitely responded. He was a bright point for us offensively late in the second half. So I'm hoping to see him pick up where he left off in the first quarter of this game this weekend.
Okay, hold on, Coach. We have 2 questions for you.
Our first question comes from Ty Miller of Power News and Sports Network. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm good, Coach. A&T uses the no-huddle to kind of get the opponent off track sometime, and Coach Washington says when they meet a team that doesn't necessarily have the depth, it pays dividends for them. So how is your team preparing to counteract their no-huddle attack?
Well, we run the no-huddle here, so our kids have seen that since day one. So that is no new position for us. We're used to it. We practice against it every single day, and so our kids are prepared, and they're definitely in shape to combat anything that they have no-huddle-wise. We watch a lot of film. We will be prepared for them to go fast. We expect them to go fast. We've seen a lot of film of them going fast. So it's not anything new for us. We'll just continue on the same path that we were on right now, and we'll be prepared.
Without being specific, in your film study and maybe watching the tape against Morgan State when A&T was upset a couple of weeks ago, did that teach you anything about how you could play them and probably be successful in some areas?
Well, every team in the country that plays A&T now is going to look at the Morgan State film. We have looked at it several times. And of course, Morgan had a good game plan against A&T. But we look at all their films and try to attract all their, the things that we could capitalize on. But it's A&T. It's a very good football program. The things they do, they don't give you a lot of options to beat them. They're well coached. Just watching them on film in all the games. You say, oh, I can get them here. Then the next game, they do something different, and they fix the mistakes that they've made. So I'm quite sure that they've watched the Morgan game as well, and some of the things they didn't do well. I'm quite sure they fixed them. So we got our hands full. We definitely have our hands full.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Luke Williams of Black College Sports Page. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. Ty asked my question, and you already reflected on that everybody's watching that Morgan State film. A&T also struggled in the first half against South Carolina State. Offense wasn't doing very much, made a lot of mistakes in special teams. And as you said, Coach Washington has already talked about that all of those areas he's going to have to shore up. But if there's a way to follow up, I want to kind of ask the same question. When you see the film from Morgan State, what did you see? Or even if the first half of the South Carolina State film, what did you see without giving away any secrets?
I just saw Morgan appeared to have more energy than North Carolina A&T in the first half. They did. They battled. I mean, the same thing with South Carolina State. They came out and they gave them their best shot. But like all good football teams and good football programs, man, they fight till the end. And that was the one thing that I've seen that they did. When the Morgan State game, Morgan continued to fight, kept pressing, and they found a way to win. South Carolina State was a little bit different. A&T regrouped, and they, just like all good football programs, they made some adjustments. They fixed their mistakes, and they were able to overcome and come out victorious.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Coach, thanks again for speaking with us, and good luck as you host your first game this weekend in Dover.
Thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome. North Carolina A&T State will travel to Delaware State this weekend for a 7 p.m. kickoff. The contest will be streamed live on ESPN, as this is the home opener for Delaware State. Hey, we're now joined by Howard University head coach Mike London. The Bison were off this past weekend and will return to action at North Carolina Central on Saturday. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Ryan. How are you doing?
I'm good. Coach, talk about how did you use the bye week to your advantage?
Yeah, like most coaches, you always try to go back and self-scout yourself. You work on some of the things that, the first few games that have caused some concern. For us, we've been able to get some guys back that they have been out of some games. Typically midpoint of the season, everybody's going through injuries and hurt. Guys hurt here, injured here, but we were able to get about 4 or 5 guys back that hadn't played, and even though our games, this will be our 4th game on the road. We had the Savannah State game that was canceled. Obviously, went to go play in the Classic, Bethune-Cookman, and we're on the road, this Saturday. So our first home game will be next week against Del State. But we were able to take some of this time and get guys back, and then also work on the things that we've identified to help us be a better football team.
And with you only playing one game over the past few weeks, are you worried about rustiness for your team, or you can't ever ask for too much rest when it comes to a hard-fought football season?
Well, obviously it's a physical game, it's a physical season, and in the end, having the best players in positions to help you win is always critical. So as I said, we're able to get some guys back, and then the ability to work on some of the things that can help you win games, and try to limit some of the liabilities that you've observed, whether it's scheme or personnel, and our guys to academically get themselves in order. But we're about at midweek, in our midterms here, so it's a challenging week, but nonetheless, when you're a college student athlete, this is par for the course. And so the preparation for Central and for the grades and all those things like that is what you do as a student athlete. And as I said, this is Tuesdays our practice geared toward Central, and we look forward to to competing again. Back out going against another team. So guys are excited about that.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone keypad to register a question or comment. Once again, that is the 1 followed by the 4. There are no questions at this time.
Coach, last year, for those who was on the team and definitely the coaching staff, remember the Central game. So just talk about preparing for what Central has on the field this season.
Yes, obviously a very good football team. They've been in the upper echelon of Meac standings, over the years. I know they lost their head coach last year, and but I do know that that it's a team that you still see remnants of being having good schemes, good systems, and really good players. I mean, you look at them offensively. The kind of a 2-quarterback system right now. The last few games, the junior number 16, Ramadan, he's been playing a lot. They still have Caldwell, who played against us last year, who's a dual threat guy that's very, very good, very capable player. Their skill positions are good. Defensively, they got some guys that can really get after number 4 and number 7. The best player probably is one of the Reynolds, the DB. So there's a lot of really good players that Central has, and I know they played some tough games, and like everyone, we want to put a complete game together. But it's a home game for them, and as I said, last year, we had an opportunity to solidify a win, but we made mistakes down the end, and they capitalized on our mistakes. So, you watch the season, you watch what's going on in the conference and college football in and of itself. Every week you need to come prepared because teams are ready to play and ready to be competitive. So we'll have to be competitive when we get down there at their place this Saturday.
And before we close out, talk about the growth of several guys last year. They were freshmen. Now they're among your leaders statistically on defense, and Brian Cook and Ty Freeland. And also there's your second leading tackler is from Durham in Marcellus Allison. So just talk about the development of those players and what you like to see from them going forward.
Sure. We keep talking about birth date and weight room. That's the thing. Players get bigger, stronger, faster. They mature, and learning how to be a college student athlete. As you mentioned, Freeland and Cook, were true freshmen last year that played and started for us. And so now, now they're sophomores and they're playing. They've got game experience versus FCS, played in close wins, tough losses, and they're great. They're great kids. They're great players. They're great people. And Marcellus is one of the guys for us that's an older guy, one of the very few older guys that we have on our team. But he's played pretty well in the games he's competed in. So it's been refreshing to see younger guys that played last year that are now in leadership roles. That's how young we are. There's 14, 15 freshmen that are playing this year, and you're always looking for the leadership that's demonstrated by the guys that are playing, right now. And so the guys like Kalen Newton and Brian Cook and the guys you mentioned, Ty Freeland, Aaron Walker, I can just go on and on. It's important that they demonstrate those leadership abilities because you're going to need that during a long season, times that you have off, and off the field issues as well. You're going to need leadership. So thus far, these guys have been providing that.
Well, thanks, Coach, for speaking with us, and we'll definitely speak with you this time next week.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Howard University will travel down to Durham, North Carolina to face off against the Eagles of North Carolina Central this Saturday. Kickoff is set for 2 p.m., and the contest will be streamed live on ESPN3. We are now joined by Norfolk State University head coach Latrell Scott. the Spartans defeated Delaware State this past weekend and will head down south to Tallahassee, Florida, to battle the Rattlers of Florida A&M this weekend. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good morning, Ryan. How about yourself?
I'm good, Coach. Talk about last weekend's win over Dale State as both sides of the ball set the tone en route to a big win where records were set.
Well, it's always great to get an opportunity to win at home in front of our fans and families and alumni. I thought we played as well as we could possibly play in the first half. In the second half, we continued to play well offensively. We kind of bent but didn't really break on defense. Special teams, we played very poorly. And if we're going to continue to be in the hunt for this Meac championship, we're going to have to play much better on special teams. We got out executed in some situations and outperformed in some situations, and we've got to make sure that we fix those things. But I thought that the first offense and first defense played as well as they could possibly play. They were able to score some points late when we started to sub some people, but we've got to learn to create depth, and when guys get the opportunity to play, they've got to play. But overall, you're pleased to be able to score that amount of points and play fairly well on defense.
And with the buzz you mentioned last week that's around the program, and looking at some of the superlatives that were set, how do you not focus on what took place the previous week, knowing you have a task at hand this week in terms of trying to continue your quest for a Meac title?
Well, we got a chance to celebrate that win for about 5 minutes because as soon as the game was over, somebody said, "Hey, Coach, Florida A&M scored 55 points." So it's very easy to refocus and get yourself going, on to the next week. You watch Florida A&M on tape, you can see the improvements and changes that Coach Simmons has made since he's been there. And, this is a big football game for HBCU football this weekend, and hopefully we can go down there and what I know is going to be a great game day atmosphere and perform well enough to have an opportunity to win.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone keypad to register a question or comment. Once again, that is the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone keypad. Our first question comes from Melvin Beal, Inside Sports. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Coach. How are you?
Good, Melvin. How are you?
I'm well. Florida A&M did put 55 points on the board. What's your assessment of this team?
It's it's an exciting, talented football team. When you watch them defensively, they've got guys that can run around with a ton of speed. Obviously offensively, this quarterback Stanley's been around seems like forever, and he's always had good wide receivers. Obviously they always going to have good skill, but you can see Willie's influence on the offense and their ability to score points. And I think the most impressive thing that they're doing right now is they're playing lights out on special teams. I mean, their speed scares you to death on special teams, and they're a tough team to prepare for in all 3 phases.
Talk a little bit about your quarterback. It seems like his growth process has really been accelerated.
Well, Pough's doing a good job. He's continuing to grow up. He's not making the same mistakes over and over again, and he finds a way to extend plays with his feet, and he's playing well right now. I think he threw for his highest percentage that he has since he's been in college. Not really worried about the yards that he threw for, but he was over close to 70% completions, and that means that he's throwing the ball accurately, and the receivers are making the plays that we need to make. So at the end of the day, we like where he's progressing to, but we just got to continue teaching him how to prepare, and he'll be better as time goes.
Thanks, Coach. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Rory Sharrock of the Tallahassee Democrat. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Coach. How are you today?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm fine, thank you. I just wanted to ask you, with so much energy from both programs and around campus, for you, how do you kind of curtail or curb the enthusiasm to keep your team on the task at hand?
Well, it's about being humble and about staying focused. We've talked to our guys about the difference between confidence and arrogance. It's a weekly conversation that you have to have with young people. But, with success, comes excitement, it comes buzz. We have to make sure that, we're still going to class and we're still being football players first. The students are very excited, the fans and alumni are excited, but we've got to maintain a focus, especially going into a game like this. I mean, I played in Meac Stadium as a player. I know what the crowds are like. I know what homecoming is like down there. So it's going to be a tough task for us, and at least we have some coaches on our staff that understand the reality of what playing a home game in Tallahassee is like.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Williams at Black College Sports Page. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Coach Scott. How are you?
Good, Lou. How about yourself?
Not bad at all. You talked about your team's struggle in special teams, and you talked about how well FAMU, I think they've had a place kicker with 6 field goals in the game. They got a punter that's leading the nation in punting, and they have a great return game. What were the areas in special teams that you struggled in that you're going to have to really shore up on this week?
Well, we gave up two kickoff returns for touchdowns, and that's something that we've never done since we've been here. I think we were ranked in the top 25 nationally in kickoff coverage, and we just had some physical errors last week that led to those. The first one, we missed a tackle, and the second one, probably tried to overcompensate. They brought it back to the other side, so we didn't really feel like it was a schematic issue. It's just an effort and personnel issue, and we'll have to make those adjustments to make sure that Florida A&M can't take advantage. But you can see the time and the effort that Florida A&M is putting in the special teams, and that's a phase of the game that we've got to make sure that they're shored up before Saturday.
What can you do? Now, I understand in the kickoff return or punt return, but what can you do to kind of offset the advantage that they may have with the guy leading the nation in punting and another guy who's been close to perfect on field goals?
Well, I think it's just pressure. I think if you let those guys sit back there and comfortably kick the ball, they're going to continue to excel. I think, what we've got to try to find a way to do as a staff is to figure out a way to make both of those young men uncomfortable because they are very talented.
How did you assess how well FAMU handled the central defense, which, as you know, and with their head coach having been elevated from the defensive position, that was very unusual to see that kind of thing. And I think I was at the game, and I think most people were surprised that they were able to kind of go up and down the field like they were.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised, but when you look at it, there's some variables. There's some special teams errors that gave Florida A&M a short field. And when you've got a short field, it gives you the ability to be a little bit more aggressive as a play caller. Some of the deep balls that they hit and some of the things that they're able to get because of field position. I've known Granville for a long time, and he's a good defensive coordinator, but Willie's a good football coach as well. So it was just kind of one of those days to where Florida A&M had it rolling, and once you get behind, sometimes it's tough to get out of that hole.
And how do you guard against them being able to throw the ball around like that? Was it a particular scheme that? And I think even Willie said something about he saw something in their coverages that opened some things up for him. How critical is it going to be for you to be able to defend that passing game?
Well, we've got defensive linemen and linebackers and secondary guys that we feel good about. We feel good about our scheme. We feel good about our personnel. They've got good football players. So, what it's going to come down to is, us stopping them. You're not going to control Chad Hunter, but we've got to make sure that, we can limit his touches and make them do other things with the football. If we let them sit back there and pat the ball and throw it around, it'll be a long day for us. So we've got to find a way to cover people and get pressure on the quarterback.
Good luck, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Ty Miller, Power News and Sports Network. Please go ahead.
Coach Scott, good morning to you.
Hey, Ty, how are you?
I'm good, Coach. Just want to talk about one key phase of the game, and that's third downs. You've been the last couple of games been pretty successful on sustaining drives for your team and getting off the field on third down when the opponent has the ball. So can you talk about that and how key that's going to be against Florida A&M?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. I looked at that this morning, and I think we're about 45% on third down offensively, and I think we're in the top 25 in third down on defense. And if you can stay on the field and get extra snaps for your offense, it helps your defense. I think it helps with fatigue and number of snaps played and all those things. But the key to third down is first and second down. We're trying to find creative ways to make sure that we're not in third and long. For years around here, we've been this year we've been fortunate enough to be able to get 7, 8, 9 yards on first down and put ourselves in a situation where we have third and short, and that's why our percentage has gone up.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach, thanks again for speaking with us this morning, and good luck as you head down to Tallahassee on Saturday.
All right, thanks, Ryan. Take care.
You too. Norfolk State heads down to Florida A&M this Saturday at 4 p.m. The contest will be streamed live on ESPN3. We're now joined by Savannah State University head coach Erik Raeburn. The Tigers fell to Bethune-Cookman last weekend and will step out of conference play to host Charleston Southern in non-conference action on Saturday. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good morning.
Coach, recap last weekend's game versus Bethune-Cookman as you had some early success but couldn't sustain the momentum.
Yeah, I guess it's a little frustrating. Right now we're not playing good defense, particularly against the run, and then offensively, we're squandering too many opportunities, particularly in the passing game. Whether it's inaccurate throw, a protection breakdown, or we dropped what I thought would be a touchdown pass on Saturday. So we're just killing ourselves offensively with poor execution, I guess, so it's been frustrating for sure.
And you obviously had some youth on your team, especially in key positions. And obviously, like you said, 1 minute things look good, next minute some things aren't executed well. How do you deal with that as a head coach, and how do you coach that to develop better consistency?
Yeah, unfortunately, we do have to rely on a lot of young players. So I think the important thing from a coaching standpoint, I think the most important thing is to try to have patience and just keep working on the things you do in practice, and just try to keep helping them to improve and execute in a more precise fashion, and I think if we can do that, we'll give ourselves a chance in some of these games.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, via the phone lines, you can press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone keypad to register a question or comment. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that is the 1, 4. We show no questions.
Coach, this week you have an opponent coming in that runs a scheme that you won't see pretty much the rest of the year, or probably have not seen prior to it. Talk about Charleston Southern and preparing for the type of offense they present.
Yeah, obviously it's tough to prepare for a team like Charleston Southern. It's tough for your scout team guys to give your defense a good look because they're not used to running those type of plays, and then there's not much carryover from week to week. Most weeks you got a little carryover, like, hey, this is similar to what we did 2 weeks ago, et cetera. But there's not much carryover with what they do, so it'll be a challenge. That on top of the fact that we haven't been playing good run defense. This will be a difficult matchup for us defensively. But great opportunity for us to show some improvement in that facet of the game. So I know our guys are looking forward to the challenge, and they want to improve and play better run defense. So they'll have no choice but to do it this Saturday.
And last year when you played Charleston Southern, it was a tight game, especially early in the first half. Does that have any Does it have any carryover going into this year's game, knowing that several players are familiar with what they've seen before?
Well, hopefully it'll give our guys a little bit of confidence. I did feel like we played really well in the first half. We had the lead right until the end of the first half, and we kind of gave up two quick scores, gave up a score, and then fumbled the kickoff, and they punched in another one. So that really kind of killed us. All the momentum that we had built kind of killed us going into the half. But prior to that, we were playing good football and on both sides of the football, and so hopefully the guys that played in that game last year will have some confidence because of that. But we just need to have a great week of practice and get back out there and try to be more consistent and execute our system better.
And before we close out, just talk about the play in special teams, particularly Jermichael Baldwin had some exciting plays that put your offense in scoring position early on.
Yeah, we felt like that was probably the biggest improvement we made. A week ago, we had like 165 yards in penalties as a team, and it felt like at least half of them were on special teams. So this week, I think maybe we had one penalty the whole game on special teams. So much better from an execution standpoint. And then Jermichael, played like the player we saw all last year. Had a couple really good punt returns. One that set us up on the 9-yard line, set us up for the first score of the game, and then had a great kickoff return that put us in good field position and set up another score. So that group as a unit played much better this week, and certainly Jermichael played outstanding.
Well, Coach, thanks again for speaking with us, and good luck as you host Charleston Southern on Saturday.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Savannah State will host Charleston Southern this Saturday evening. Kickoff is set for 6 p.m. as the contest will be shown live on ESPN3. Our next call takes us to Orangeburg, South Carolina, as we welcome in the head coach, Buddy Pough of South Carolina State. The Bulldogs fell to North Carolina A&T State this past Thursday and will head north to Morgan State on Saturday for Morgan State's homecoming. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good morning, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good, Coach. Talk about and recap last week's game as it was a tale of two halves in the contest.
Well, it was sort of. We got ahead of A&T because of some breaks in the kicking game. They turned the ball over after our team punted to them, and we recovered it and got a touchdown after about a 4 or 5 play drive. Get them kind of after we stopped for most of the half. Get another score in the kicking game, another punt that was touched by one of their guys, and our kids recovered it in the end zone. And we go up 16 to I think maybe 3 or somewhere in that neck of the woods, and they get the football back with about a minute and 30 seconds to go in the half on about our 15-yard line, and proceed to run the football down the field, straight down the field, and score on about 4 or 5 plays. And from that point on, we didn't have a whole lot of success stopping them, nor did we have much success doing much of anything else. So they beat us up pretty good in the second half.
Well, Coach, with obviously you have a lot of youth in key areas, but what has been your approach in practice trying to coach this team, knowing there's times where they can compete with anybody, but then also you have to deal with the consistency that comes with youth overall?
You're exactly right, Ryan. We've got to be, somewhat aware of the fact that we've got a good bit of young guys playing for us, and this is a little bit of an unusual circumstance for us. Typically, we've got most of our guys, as 4s and 5s, and those guys are mature enough and got enough experience that they pretty much have seen most of what goes on in this league. guys are, just so young right now until, we having to kind of teach them the game in a way that we got to show some real patience.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media. Coach, we have 3 questions lined up, just waiting on their lines to open up.
Is that right?
So, yes, sir. So
hold on. I thought I'd gotten away.
No, sir. Hold on 1 second.
Our question comes from the line of Ty Miller. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach Pough, good morning.
Good morning, Ty. How are you?
I'm good, Coach. I'm going to tell you why you didn't get away, because if you look at it, North Carolina A&T beat you. Morgan State beat North Carolina A&T, and now you're going to a bear trap for homecoming. So can you assess that for me?
Well, I think that's pretty easy logic, Ty. It looks like we could be going into a tough situation, but each week is to its own, and we've got to figure out a way to approach Morgan State in a way that we give our young men an opportunity to have some success. That way, Coach Jones and his team, have played, really well. They probably should have won a game or two in those games that they didn't win earlier, and then they win the big A&T game down in Greensboro. So, they've shown that they've got some ability that we didn't have, and they've had a week off to give them a little extra time to prepare for us. So, we better be on our P's and Q's, because this homecoming, we got everything to. Everything is at to their advantage at this point, and we need to see if we can figure out how to overcome this big underdog kind of mentality that we got for this game.
And Coach, you mentioned underdog. It's unusual for a South Carolina State team to be regarded as an underdog. And you look at Morgan State, one of the things that they do, they capitalize off mistakes. You have a young team, so in terms of teaching your guys, not to make mistakes, how far along is it with them, and are they getting with the program as of yet?
Well, we've not done nearly as many young style kinds of things as you would imagine. We just haven't been able to consistently create enough offense to keep our defense off the field for some time periods. We didn't turn the football over this past Saturday against A&T, and it's kind of unusual that you have a game such as that, and and there not be any scores at all, that are attributed to something that we did offensively to give them a short field. A&T drove the football the length of the field on several occasions there to actually make what happened that they had. So if that's the case, then hopefully we'll continue that trend. I think that our kids are getting a pretty good lesson on how to go about handling themselves, and given the opportunity, we can still hang in there with the teams in this league, and we still believe that we can play, with anybody in this league.
And Coach, you talk about Morgan State's defense. That's really been what's been outstanding for them. Can you talk about the Bears' defense?
Yeah, they are a rock'em sock'em, aggressive style of defense. They can pressure you. They can cover you. They've got all the different ingredients. They've got really good linebackers. And I think they line from some kind of a 3-look. And those guys, those 2 inside, 2 outside backers are all extremely versatile guys that can rush the passer from all kinds of different ways, and then they can also play the run. So, it's a big challenge to try to figure out it. They stopped A&T. A&T didn't rush for very many yards against them, and the fact that that offense struggle, gives you an indication of what kind of team you're dealing with here.
Thank you, Coach, and good luck this weekend.
Thanks, Ty.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Carlton Green, Bulldog News. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Coach.
Hey, Carlton. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Jerome Petteray was your best defense last week. What you think you're going to do with Morgan State this week?
He was our MVP, except for the fact that, he's our punter. We like to try to not get him out there quite so often. We need to try to figure out how to keep our offense on the field a little bit longer, and for some effective drives in a way that we don't necessarily have to put him out there. But we're proud of Petteray. He did a nice job of turning the field over on several occasions last week, and when we do need him, we've got him there ready to go. Our entire kicking game, I think, is starting to come along pretty good, and if we can find some points somehow or that way, that's always good.
How do you feel about being a homecoming opponent for Morgan State?
Well, we've got some other games too that I think might be fitting into that role. It's kind of part of the business. It's what happens when you hadn't played quite so well, in your previous year.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Carlton.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Luke Williams, Black College Sports Page. Please go ahead.
I couldn't let you get away either, Coach.
Hey, Luke, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Just got a couple for you. What about some positives from the A&T game? I thought your quarterback kind of acquitted himself well. I mean, you were up 16-3, and they really hadn't moved the ball, even though they turned it over a few times and made some special teams errors. And then even after the score at halftime, and then the third quarter score, they still went into the fourth quarter only down by a point. So I would think you were down 17-16. Talk about some of the positives you take from that, from the game.
Well, I guess you kind of summed it up there, Luke, for me. The fact that we were in the game, we were ahead at the half. We got ahead, we created some scores that way. Albeit that it was not necessarily the way that you generally, have an opportunity to score points against a team like North Carolina A&T. You got to take them as you get them. And I was disappointed. I was really disappointed in the drive at the end of the first half. I thought we got caught napping a little bit there, and created a little bit of a firestorm for them, their momentum wise, and from that point we couldn't seem to quite get them stopped. But you got to take your hat off to A&T. They're a good football team, and I appreciate the fact that our kids, because of the fact that we go in there, and hadn't won a game, and A&T had all the things going their way, fought their fannies off, and that part I can pretty much say every week that I can depend on with our team, and that's the fact that they go in and play hard.
I talked to one of the other coaches earlier about people watching the Morgan State game against A&T and learning something from that about how to attack A&T. Did any of that play into some of the schemes that you all deployed against them?
Not really. We kind of do what we do, and a lot of what Morgan does, I'm sure, is somewhat in our scheme. But, Morgan's got some special ability there that they can do some things that the rest of us just don't have the ability to do. They run about as good as any. I think they may be the best team skill-wise, speed-wise in our league. And, with that being the case, there's some things they can do. You just gotta kind of look and say, ooh, I wish I could do it that way too. But, we'll try, to do some of those kind of things from time to time. But, you got to kind of pick your moments.
And the last one, what do you think about their quarterback?
Morgan's quarterback?
Yeah.
Run around can make you, really pay in a lot of different ways kind of guy. He's from our little honey hole neck of the woods. He's from Washington, Georgia. And, I've recruited a lot of players at South Carolina State from Washington and Lincoln and all that kind of stuff. When I looked at him up and saw where he's from, I said, ooh, that's a mess up on our part. Because he's a big old pretty thing, who probably should have been at South Carolina State. But now that's another story together, Luke.
Okay. Coach, good luck.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Coach Pough, thanks again for speaking with us this morning, and good luck as you head up north to Baltimore on Saturday.
All right, guys. Appreciate you.
South Carolina State will face Morgan State in Baltimore on Saturday at 1 p.m. The contest will be shown live on Sports Fever TV and ESPN3. We'll now move on to Greensboro, North Carolina, as North Carolina A&T State head coach Sam Washington.
Good morning, Ryan.
How you doing, Coach?
Well, thank you.
And we'll head north to Delaware State on Saturday. Coach, we'll go right into it. Good morning once again, but recap last Thursday's game as once the team got into a groove, they took control for the first conference win of the year.
Well, that we did. However, that first half was not very good. We got to become more consistent in what we do and play with a lot more energy than we came out with initially. But it was good to see the young men get out there and fight and play as well as they're capable of playing.
And similar to the Morgan State game a few weeks ago, you're going up to Delaware State, and the Hornets are coming off a season high in points and offense last week. Talk about the Hornets and what to expect once you evaluate them on film.
Well, you're absolutely right. They're pretty good football team, and I thought schematically, they're very sound. They have a clue of what they're doing. They're not just out there running around and calling plays. They have an idea exactly what they're trying to get accomplished, and I think the kids are grasping the concept. Each week you can see signs of improvement, and I also think they play with a lot of effort. The running backs can play, and they're tough, and I think the front get out there as well. They have some capable receivers, so they're able to score some points. Now they just got to learn how to stop folks.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone keypad if you'd like to register a question or comment. Once again, that is the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone keypad. There are no questions at this time.
Coach, considering the things that your team has faced the past 3 weeks, which was a hurricane, the Morgan State contest, and then you had the short week on Thursday, talk about how did you deal with everything to get the team back on track at this point?
Well, it was some difficulties, but, no excuses made. But I tell you what, it really feels good to be back in our normal routine. I think that's, quite important. As athletes, we like to do things the same way as much as possible. And but it was tough, starting with, the kids going home, during the hurricane. We dismembered the whole team, and then getting back in here late. Some, got back on time, others didn't. So it was a lot of distractions. And then coming off that, with the loss on top of it, it was frustrating. And I think you saw some of that frustration, show up. And that, cannot happen. That's what we must, be aware of. And then the short week, had a very short week to prepare for a, gamey South Carolina State football team. So, but I thought, through it all, we were able to get it together and perform well for a half at least.
Thank you, Coach. We have one question about the come.
Thank you. It's from Ty Miller, Power News and Sports Network. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach Washington. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Ty.
Hey, Coach. A few weeks ago, before playing Morgan State, you said it was the best 0-3 team that you had seen, and it proved to be prophetic. Now, any sense of deja vu taking on Delaware State this weekend? Any kind of similarity?
Some, but not to the same extent, honestly. Morgan has some athletes. I mean, a bunch of them. And I think those kids have been in that system for, a couple of years now and understand what's going on. And, there's quite a new staff over in Delaware. And hopefully they haven't quite grasped, what's asked of them yet.
Coach, in terms of your offense, it seems as if your running game gets on track, that makes it, I guess with any team, it makes it more efficient for your passing game to get going. So that's got to be true of what's been happening so far this year with your team. Is that correct?
Absolutely, and I think, as you stated, that's within a football team. You want to be able to run the ball, and if you can't, it make everything so much difficult. Because now they're able to run different combination coverages and use people in places to take away passing lanes, and so it's very, very much easier, I would say. Once you get the running game going, to throw the football.
And you may have mentioned this, but how much did the game against Morgan State and wanting to get back on the field, how much did it recharge your team for another run like you had the 15-game run?
We really wanted to get back on the field to prove, to ourselves who we are, more so than, the records and all of that. I think it's very important, when you drop a loss like we did, to get back out and identify who you really are. And we was able to do that.
Thank you, Coach, and good luck this weekend.
All right, thank you.
Our next question comes from Lute Williams, Black College Sports Page. Please go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Coach. How are you this morning?
I'm well, thank you, Luke.
Is dealing with the loss and coming back from the loss, is it the biggest challenge you've had so far as a head coach?
Well, I don't know if it's the largest, but it's definitely one of the. It's a lot of, coaching. You become a father, a minister, and you deal with all kind of emotions and crises. That's off the field. That's very touching as well. But as far as the football goes, this definitely was one of the tougher things I had to endure. My first season.
Sure. Well, and Coach, several coaches have mentioned something about the team not coming out with a lot of energy, and maybe for the last two games, both against Morgan and South Carolina State, that you didn't come out with a lot of energy. The guys weren't jumping around, and if that means anything, do you think that's a product of having success, having that long winning streak, and how do you address that if that's a real problem?
Well, I wouldn't consider it a problem, but generally speaking, what gets the energy going is positive plays. If you're not having positive plays, you're not going to have a whole lot of energy. So I think that's what we must focus on, getting positive plays so that we can exert our energy and cheer and have something to cheer about. So, that thing twofold. Now, just coming out rah-rah, I'm not with that. Let's make plays, and then we have something to cheer about.
Yeah, but so and I don't know if I thought about it. Is that something that you address, not getting them too high to begin with, and focusing on what you just said, focusing on making plays to create the energy? Is that the idea?
That's my understanding, and that's the way I would prefer to do it. Let's go do some positive things that we can cheer about, and bring some energy, to it, rather than just coming out, with a bunch of false chatter.
I got you. Good luck, Coach.
All right, thank you.
We're now joined by North Carolina Central Granville Eastman this morning. The Eagles fell to Florida A&M this past weekend and will remain at home as they will host Howard University this weekend. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, Ryan. Good morning. Hanging in there, man. Rolling with those punches, as we say.
Yes, sir. If you can, we're going to just recap last week some of the positives that came out of the contest versus Florida A&M.
Well, positive-wise, we didn't turn over the ball. We were doing that on offense. And, despite suffering a humbling defeat, our kids really didn't have much to play for in the second half. But pride did that. thought that was, to show that signs that we obviously can continue on. Also, our third down percentage on defense was a positive. Just didn't make them get in third downs enough, to win the first, to make that be a factor. But our percentage there was fine. And so there were a few things, certainly silver linings that we are going to build on, and just have to get better this week.
And, Coach, you've been at Central quite some time as a defensive coordinator and now as the head coach. And obviously you've seen expectations rise. So just talk about knowing that the culture and mindset that you all have set, how do you get the team to look past the previous game and focus on the task at hand?
Well, that's a great question because we find ourselves in a situation that we have not been in some time here. It's not comfortable. And, on Saturday, what happened was that for the first time in a while, we didn't really respond to adversity the way we've been used to. And, coaches, players have kind of had to look inwards and see and try and get at to what the root of the problem is, maybe why that is not happening or that did not happen. And this week will be a great test for us to see, if we can answer that question. But with the expectations comes a certain understanding that not all things are going to be easy. Success does not come easy. And we've had a certain resiliency when times are tough in terms of being able to bounce back during a game or the next game or that kind of stuff. And that hasn't happened yet. And this will be a good opportunity to see if we've improved in that area. And
before we move on to our questions, just talk about this week's opponent, Howard, and what to expect. As last year it was a 13-7 decision, which was tight most of the game. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, they're popping on all cylinders. Kellen Newton is in my humble opinion, the most dynamic, exciting player in the Meac. Now, I say that not having seen everybody, but he just makes that thing go. They're very balanced on offense. I know they're playing some young guys on defense, but they're playing with such confidence. They're obviously well coached up because on defense they know where to go at the snap of the ball, and they fly around. So they present a lot of problems. I think their pocket passing has grown enormously from what it was last year. So as far as that quarterback making things go with his legs or in his arms, that is truly a dual threat kid right there. Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone keypad to register a question or comment. Once again, that is the 1 followed by the 4. And our first question comes from Lute Williams, Black College Sports Page. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach Eastman, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Where did you identify the breakdown defensively? To be down 41-7 at the half, I'm sure had to be shocking. Where did you see that the breakdowns occurred?
Well, shocking is a very good word, and unfortunately for us, some things we had thought we had fixed from game one didn't quite get it to the point it had. Now, quite honestly, some other young men are playing now that weren't available then, and that seemed to be part of the problem. Some tackling matters at time, and some coaching, getting us in some different fronts and things that wasn't really a good idea at the time. So it was a combination of things that we've revisited and are trying to work out. But FAMU, credit to them, coaching-wise, some wrinkles they did as far as some motion, some things like that. We just didn't respond and adjust to that stuff on the fly like we had practiced, and that proved to be problematic. Quite honest.
And you mentioned you haven't been in this situation in a long time, and I think what you mean by that is you haven't had anybody in the conference really dominate you like that for the last 4 years. What is the move? Well, you can explain it if that's not what you meant, but what's the mood of your team coming off that kind of what could be a demoralizing kind of defeat? What's the mood of your team? And you could please explain what you mean by not in that situation.
for.
No, you're spot on. You're very spot on in the fact that people have not been able to dominate us like that in the last 4 years. So you were spot on in that explanation. I know our players were just as shocked as we were. Everyone was shocked, and the mood on Sunday was still of some disbelief. I know some of them have come together and have met as units and whatnot to address what they can do moving forward. As a staff, we've gone back to really been in basics, really trying to pare things down, little steps, little things, details. Some of those things proved to be costly, not paying attention to them on Saturday. So we're all trying to do our part to make sure that type of outcome does not happen again.
And how is it for you, Coach, my last one, how is it for you being in this position in the first time? What's the biggest challenge in terms of trying to keep your team together?
Well, that's just it. Now I'm the head football coach, and so it is the entire team. That's what I'm responsible for. It's not just, offense or defense or special teams. This is the entire team, and we've got our woes on in every phase of the game right now. And so, I just have to make sure that I'm the head football coach, that I give the proper directives and communication on, what are the plans to get some things corrected in all three phases. Certainly not everything is going to be corrected all in one day or in one game, but we have to identify those things that are glaring, which I believe we have. And so today's a work day. See if our young men come out and do and address what we said. We did some things on Sunday where we corrected mistakes. We'll emphasize those things again today in a work day and see if that's been clear to them, and then work from there.
And let me ask one last question, Coach. You played all three of your quarterbacks, or you played three quarterbacks Saturday, and it seemed like your third stringer maybe there was a little more production coming from him. What's that situation in terms of who do you go into the Howard game with? And I'm sure part of that is the work that's being done this week. But what did you think about the three quarterbacks play on Saturday?
Well, I think you hit on the head. I think that Dominic Schaffner showed he showed that he was able to be productive, move the ball, lead the team, get a score. His upside and his future is very bright. It's just a matter of him seeing looks, more and more and more, and with more game time experience, that will happen. So he's kind of going along the lines that we thought he might. I'm not going to say we're going to name a starter right now. As we do, we evaluate those guys every day in practice, things they do on the field and in the meeting rooms, and until we feel real comfortable with a starter, Thursday or so, we'll name that guy. We're set to probably play a little bit more this week in practice to see what he can do. But Dominic was a very, very positive. It was very positive what he did on the field, and we know that we've got a good one there. It's just taking a little bit of time. That's all.
Got you. Good luck on Saturday, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach, thanks a lot speaking with us this morning, and we'll talk with you again this time next week.
All right. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Same here, Coach.
Bye.
North Carolina Central will face Howard University this Saturday. Kickoff is set for 2 p.m. as the contest will be shown live on ESPN3. And we're going to close out this morning's teleconference with our final head coach in Ernest Jones of Morgan State. The Bears had the weekend off and will host South Carolina State for homecoming on Saturday. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Excellent. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, Coach. It's been 2 weeks since your last game. And can you just talk about where the team is physically and mentally heading into homecoming?
Doing great. I mean, what we tried to do is we said we wanted to get better from week 4 to week 5. How we did that was we wanted to concentrate on the classroom, working harder in the classroom, working a little bit harder in the weight room. We wanted to work a little bit harder in our film study, and wanted to grow the brotherhood where we got to know each other just a little bit more week 4 to week 5, and they did an outstanding job of that. And then we began practice this week in preparation for South Carolina State, and we had a great practice. in preparation for the game.
And speaking of South Carolina State, the contest is homecoming, and what I've asked some of the coaches who are in homecoming situation this week, how do you handle what goes on the field, but then how do you balance it with what goes on off the field, as obviously there's a lot of things going on that's going to pull attention from your players just naturally?
Well, we embrace homecoming here at Morgan State University. That's a great thing. It's a great, it's all about the rebirth of the pride and tradition here at Morgan State University, and we embrace it. So we allow our players to participate in homecoming activities. We embrace it, so we love it. It's not a distraction to us. It's a great thing. We invite the people to come out and watch us practice, enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy the environment, so it's not a distraction for us at all. We're going to get our work in. In fact, it probably helps us to concentrate and focus on it even better, even though that might sound kind of weird, but homecoming is just an event that's happening on campus. We love it. We embrace it, but we're going to get our work done no matter what.
And, Coach, since you mentioned that, and knowing when you, as a player, in time with Steve McNair at Alcorn, and obviously you knew what those environments were like, and then you've been in a lot of Power 5 places, so and now you're in Morgan State running the show. So just talk about your experience in making sure the players stay at one level, but also letting them understand that they're a student athlete also, with emphasis on the student.
Absolutely. Those experiences have paid well for me again, and it adds credibility with me and the staff and the team as we prepare for these games. But, we tell the team, this game isn't about emotion. So you can't play off of emotion. You can't practice off of emotion. It's 100% about execution. So we focus in on execution. And then, all the little things. Did they step right? Did they place their hands right? Did he throw it right? Did he tackle right? All of those things. So we understand that it's homecoming. We understand what comes with it, but we want to take the emotion out of it and concentrate on execution.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone keypad if you would like to register a question or comment. Once again, that is the 1 followed by the 4. Our first question comes from Lute Williams, Black College Sports Page. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Coach Jones. How are you?
Good morning, Lute. I'm doing well. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, man. There was a whole lot of emotion after that A&T win with your guys. They were jumping around, running all over the field. Obviously, it had to be cathartic, so to speak, for them. And you're saying take emotion out of it. Does that mean you don't want them coming into this game with emotion? How is the balance between that emotion and execution?
Yeah, you're talking about two different scenarios. Well, that particular game, we went into the game week when we called it a Meac championship in September. So we thought we were playing a championship game. So that was the type of excitement and emotion that you would expect when you win a championship game. So that's what you saw in the A&T game. But this is homecoming game. It's just another football game on our schedule with a lot of activity going on. So that's what we mean by the emotion of all the people coming back, all your mom and your cousins and your sisters and your aunts, all the former players being back. We don't want to play off of that emotion, but we want to just execute and go out there and give them something to be proud for and let them show the emotion while we go execute. So those were two different type of scenarios, and I'm okay with how they reacted in the A&T game, and I'm okay with how we're preparing for the South Carolina State game.
So you're not saying you don't want them to come in the game with the similar kind of emotion that they had against A&T?
No, I am saying that we don't see this as the same type of game as the A&T game. This is another football game on our schedule. It's a Meac conference game, and if we want to win the Meac conference, we have to win this football game. But we understand that it's surrounded by homecoming. We're not going to allow the emotion of homecoming and all the things that's happening here at homecoming distract us from going out competing, trying to win a Meac conference football game. Two different scenarios. It's a different. We play with a mindset here at Morgan State University, and we carried a different mindset into the A&T game in regards to what we're going to carry into the South Carolina State game. Just two different venues.
Very interesting. Good luck, Coach. Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Phil Schoner of Sports Fever Television Network. Please go ahead.
Coach Jones, how can you improve
offensively on third downs? That's certainly been an area, a problem area for you in the first part of the season.
Yeah, what we've done, again, is it's funny you call that, we've evaluated all of our third down scenarios, self-scouted ourselves, if you will, and we're just trying to narrow it down to 2 or 3 calls that we like on third down, and we're just going to play those 2 or 3 calls. So what we've had done is we had a mixture of a number of calls where we're in a double-digit calls. In fact, we're going to narrow that thing down to 2 or 3 calls, our best calls, and we're going to try to see how effective we can be doing those 2 or 3 things.
Last year, your team was defensively got at the quarterback, sacked the quarterback a lot. This year, it's been the interceptions, 9 interceptions so far. Just talk about the way your secondary has played so far in the first half of the season.
Yeah, they're mature. They're guys that we've had, in the program for a couple of years. So it's all about our eyes. It's all about putting our eyes in the right place and reading our keys. And then, one of the things we're doing is that we're studying our offenses a little bit differently, and we're studying the quarterback in particular to see if we can find some weaknesses or some holes or some places where we can execute. And we're just locked in on those things. So if he does what we see on film, we think we're going to have a good play. And I think that's just what's happening in regards to the play of the secondary.
Final question, Coach. Just evaluate how Harris has played at quarterback for you, and it seems like he's coming along pretty nicely.
Yeah, we think so. We're not asking him to do a whole lot other than run the football. He's definitely going to have to run the football every game, but we've shrunk our offense down to the things that he's comfortable doing, the things that he wants to do, the throws that he wants to make, and then we're going to ask him to run with the football and be a leader out there, talk to the offensive line, talk to the running backs, the wide receivers, and the tight ends, and just protect the football. He's had a couple turnovers, maybe 3 on the season, but that's not so bad through 4 games. We're just asking him to go control the offense. He don't have to win the football game for us. Just manage the offense, throw the throws he wants to throw, and run with the football. So we're very pleased with where he is right now.
Thanks, Coach. I'll see you Saturday.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Carlton Green, Bulldog News. Please go ahead.
Coach Jones, since you're looking at South Carolina State as a homecoming opponent, and defensively, South Carolina State is known for defense. How do you expect to approach them on offense?
Yeah, they're good. Coach Pough has a really, really good team over there in regards to that front 7. But again, it's always been and it always will be about who we are. Our identity is that we're going to run the football. If they can stop us from running the football, they're going to have a chance to win a football game. We're not going to change anything that we're doing. We're going to line up and run right at them. And that's just who we are. So we respect who they are. We respect that defense, but we're going to run the football. If they can stop us, they'll beat us. If not, we're going to have some success.
Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir. Carlton.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Ty Miller, Power News and Sports Network. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach Jones. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Ty.
Coach, you talked a lot about winning off the field as well as winning in the classroom and other places. How much did working as Notre Dame's Director of Player Development and Engagement help you in that respect?
It helped a lot. Being when I was able to do that at a place like that where Coach Kelly turned the keys over to me in regards to the morale of the team, finding out what was important to the team, on the field and off the field. And I just brought all of those things with me here to Morgan State. It's very important. It's more important than the X's and the O's. We really spent this bye week with this team, getting to know each other better, working on things outside of football, the classroom, the study hall room, the weight room, what you're eating, hanging out with them in the cafeteria, hanging out with them in the facility, just different things like that. Player morale is the key to success, in my opinion, in college football. You have high morale, you got a great chance to have some success, and we have high morale here at Morgan State University.
Coach, speaking of that morale, teams playing your team from now on know that they're not playing the same old Morgan State. So have you had discussions with the players about, we're no longer looked upon as a team that is an easy win or a team that they expect to beat? What kind of discussions have you had about that?
No, I tell the team that we went 1-10 a year ago, and everybody on the schedule knows that we went 1-10, and everybody knows that they beat us. What we have to do is get better from week 5 to week 6. What we have to do is own up to our identity. We're going to run the football on offense, physically and aggressively. We're going to get after the quarterback. He's going to have to make a decision fast, get the football out of his hand, and we're going to put our best players on the roster on special teams. Do that, and you'll have a chance to win the football game. That's what we talk about here at Morgan State University.
Have there been any discussions with the administration as of yet about removing the interim label from your title?
No, that's not anything that's come up. I told them the day that they made me the interim head football coach that I'm the head football coach. I told the team, the alumni, the boosters, and I'm doing the business as if I'm the head football coach. I plan to be here as long as they'll have me. I plan to be here for a long time. So that's not something that I talk about, that we talk about. Right now I'm the head football coach at Morgan State University, and we're carrying on as if I'm going to continue being the head football coach at Morgan State University.
Thank you, Coach, and good luck this weekend.
Thanks, Ty. Appreciate it.
Coach Jones, thanks again for speaking with us, and good luck this week as you prepare for South Carolina State and enjoy homecoming.
We appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Morgan State University is coming, and they will take on the Bulldogs of South Carolina State. Kickoff is set for 1 p.m., and the contest will be shown live on Sports Fever TV and